I like talking about failure a lot. And I don't know how you feel about it.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I've got a lot. You don't know what you just got yourself into.
That's good news. One failure that, because of it, you set for success, or that failure itself kind of, with the back of your mind, flipped the rest of your steps into something that you consider a success.
When you talk about failure, I'm kind of spoiled for choice here because I've got a massive library of mistakes and just I was a very lousy kid in school. Okay, but I think my wake up call came quite late in life, and it came in university actually, when in my second year the head of the department told me I wasn't going to make it past second year in architecture.
No way.
Yeah, and he asked me to potentially reconsider the field that I'm in, and that to me was, I'm quite easygoing and chilled and I have quite thick skin, and you can tell me anything you want, but when you say that to me, or it's about my what I think my passion is, and that I might be off the mark, it completely destroyed me. Like, game over. I didn't know what I was doing anymore in life, and because architecture is such a long road, you almost see your life for the next 5 or 7 years. And when someone kind of blurs that and tells you that potentially you might be walking on the wrong path, it completely just destabilized me. And I called my dad up and I told him, look, I might not, this might not be for me, blah, 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 and this, that, the other. And he was like, whoa, hold up. What happened, And yeah, like at the end of the day, I think that was a big wake up call for me, just to get my shit together and reassess whether I really did want to be in architecture. But B, I think more than anything, it was that jump from school to university, where in school, you're taught to do your homework, show your homework the next day in class. Okay, yeah, 10 out of 10, great. Okay, go back home, show your parents, nice. I didn't get 10 out of 10 ever in school, like ever. And B, in university, there's this very independently taught culture.
Hands off.
Yeah, the teachers, the lecturers, if you don't come to class, if you don't come to a lecture, the lecturer won't care. And if you do come to class, the lecturer won't care. So that was a concept that, I'm not going to lie, it took me a year or two to really get my head around, that this is really you, and everyone's playing for keeps here, and you need to invest time in yourself, and no one's going to ask you, hey, did you do this, or did you, so I think that hit me quite hard when I was in uni, and I think I needed that, just to burn my hand once, and I've said, okay, you know what, I'm not doing that again. But I've made that mistake, and I'll say it loud, and I said it to my whole family, and I said, if I ever do that again, let me know, because I won't, but more.
So that's really interesting to me that you've analyzed it quite properly and took steps to remedy it. Like most people, it's still a young age, university, you're still exploring things, and there's so many things that could take you away from the path. Let alone the whole game is different, which what you mentioned. But in order to have that sense and responsibility to say it to your parents, which is whoa. You're not saying it to your friends or classmates or really people that
and what Arabic parents are like. Oh yeah.
Can you tell me about that process in particular? Like, how did you build the guts to think, you know what, I need to go public and I need to engage in order to sort of constrain myself and make a commitment to this? Like, how did that happen?
Without realizing, I was actually being taught that lesson very, very early on. So when I was in primary school and early secondary school, so year 7, year 8, that was my like prime bad student years. I was an absolute rock star at being a terrible student. Oh my God, bless some of my teachers. And yeah, I'd always do this thing where I'd hide my results. I'd get a bad grade, I'd get a C or a D or whatever it was, and I'd always just stuff it into my bag, and I wouldn't show my parents. And one day, my parents, surely enough, went through my bag and found all of these terrible grades, and that, other than just being humiliating, it shows you that you're okay with the bad grade, that you accept it, and you almost accept that you are a C or a D. But But I think the fact that I then went and told my parents, I think it shows an attitude of, you know what? I know that I'm better than this, and I'm okay with showing you that I slipped up this one time, but I can do better, you know? And I think that the first time I did that was so late that it was in, you know, sixth form education, that's where I really started to get my things together, you know? And it takes guts. It takes guts to do that, of course, because there's this whole sort of ego involved, but it definitely helps.
This goes to kind of highlight a lesson, which is if you do the hard thing and if you commit to a journey or a path that is so uncomfortable, that is so challenging, by publicly admitting to parents and close ones that things are not right now, I'm not okay with it, but I want you to know that. That's number one. Number two, I'm getting on track and I have a path. I think it's an interesting process that many people, including myself, skip because you want another remedy, you want another quick fix. So in a way that there's no way around the hard stuff if you want to get to the good stuff. That includes pain and aching and getting thirsty and passing out during a race in order to get that feeling of finish line. You know?
Definitely.
So that whole journey is kind of encapsulated together. Interestingly, like sort of the sports world kind of informs that.
Yeah, of course, definitely.
And that failure is an apparent success today, right? In your mind, like so far, so good.
From when I was younger, I always knew that it, you know, if for other kids it would take them one lap to learn something, or for the teacher to say it once. I always knew, and I'm not just saying this, but this is serious, that it always took me 2 or 3 laps to understand something. So I think then, you know, I actually confessed this to my mom once, and I told her that I think that it takes me a little longer to understand something from, you know, when I was much younger, and she just comforted me in a way, in the way that you'd expect, obviously, and told me that it's completely fine, you know, and it's something that a lot of people sometimes just need to do to understand something, and you know, you excel in other stuff that some people won't. So people, it's multifaceted. It's not a, you know, and it's something that can make you feel insecure at times. And I think I caught on to this very early on when I was younger, and then from then on, thankfully, you know, I've excelled in academically from sort of like year 11 onwards. But I think it's just knowing that, and you know, it's quite a tough thing to admit to yourself. So I went to a lot of, you know, after school classes. My mom took me to so many extracurricular, like extra classes of maths, extra this and that, because I think she just believed in me when I was younger. You know, she knew that wasn't my standard and that I could do better, and that that you need at the beginning a bit of an extra push, an extra charge, you know, and then you're off. And I completely wouldn't be here if it wasn't for my mom or my dad, you know, because I think, you know, they can see their kid more than the kid can, you know. Because I think we're just as a child, that you're slightly more accepting towards certain circumstances, and you're like, okay, well, maybe this is just it, you know, maybe I'm really just like this, or maybe I'm, you know, algebra isn't my strongest thing, or whatever it is, but yeah, all kudos to my mom, man. She really pushed me towards.
It's quite unusual for you to realize early on that you have a rhythm, you have a way of doing things. The rest of this class noise or teacher method is not the world. That's such a revelation to have, like, and you know, I don't think I ever understood that till way after university.